Sports is critical for the development of any nation. Indeed, the most popular of those sports in our part of the world, in our country, is football. And just go to the stadiums, that is, if the Black Stars are playing as we have the scenarios currently, and you get to know the avid sports lover or football lover wants to have a good cheer by witnessing good games. But over the last few years, arguably, Ghana's Premier League has been on the downturn. The concern among pundits has been that there's no consistent promotion for the league. Effectively also, sponsorship has eluded the Premier League. Is it the fault of the Ghana Football Association or just the basic managers of the various sports clubs or football clubs we have in our country? We're expecting, according to the announcement of the GFA, that the current Premier League will start soon, probably this very weekend. But would it start? Is a question I guess we all have to ponder over. There are concerns that there could be an injunction already arising from one Babia Al-Hassan, who has indicated that he sent a motion or secured a motion from the High Court for an interlocutory injunction to be placed on the Premier League from starting. This has been disputed by officials at the GFA. Is it true or not? We're here to look at the Premier League. Is it starting or not? Even if it starts, do we have all the teams set to make sure they make the needed impact? Benedict Osudankwa is in the studio. Is a sports journalist with us here, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks still for having me.
And we also have in the studio Nana Osuansa, a freelance sports pundit, as well as a freelance sports journalist. Thanks for joining me, Nana.
It's a pleasure.
All right, great. I watch the Premier League, I'm all excited. But the Premier League is about ending, Benedict. Why are we having if we will start at all, our Premier League starting this late?
Well, I mean, there's been issues. Clubs having issues with judicial proceedings at the Football Association. Remember Dreams FC and Tema Youth case. Tema Youth felt that Dreams FC registered an unqualified player and that, I mean, they didn't deserve to qualify for the championship. And also, we've had issues with Techiman City, Africa United. Now, Techiman City issue with, the Ethics Committee of the Football Association, which they've appealed for, and they are even filing for a stay of execution. So, all these issues have contributed to the Premier League, the delay of the Premier League. It's been 5 months. When the last league ended, the last season ended, we were all hoping that at least we're going to start a new season somewhere in August last year. But you look at what happened with the issues back and forth. At some point, it was Asante Kotoko Accra. They were fighting over points, the eligibility of one player, Obed Owusu, and all these things have contributed to it. So that has been the problem here in Ghana. The judicial issues and also wranglings between clubs, fighting boardroom points and, talking about how they want to do things. That has been a problem. So that's the reason why, up till now, we still don't have our league in session.
But for all the while that we've seen a lull or a fallow period when other leagues around the world have started, even on the continent, Nana, what had the clubs been doing?
Of course, the clubs have been, some of them have been camping for a while, training, going on tours and trying to get their teams together, even when they do not know when the league is going to start. And it's very costly, it's very expensive because you are preparing in anticipation of an uncertainty, or you are in anticipation of the unknown. So some have been playing games and others have been recruiting players, and like Techiman City and the other teams, even when they want to sign players, the players do not know their status, whether they are in the league or not, and therefore it makes things quite difficult for them to get to their top targets. But then the clubs have been preparing, and all in anticipation that one day or someday or pretty soon the league will kickstart again.
That would mean that the players or even the clubs have to spend a lot more if they have already recruited players and even the existing ones.
Absolutely, they spend so much on that. With last season, for instance, Kotoko played over 40 games, 40 preseason games before the league started, because a similar incident happened last season too. And this is they've played quite a number of games. And not only that, they've even had one of their key midfielders injured as a result of the league not starting. He had to go and play with his friend Sunday Special. So it tells you that a lot of things. The clubs are really suffocating, but the point is they don't have a common unit. They do not come together as a unit to be able to have a stance and say, indeed, this is what we're going to do, because they allow the PLB, a very defiant board, and the GFA themselves to dictate everything for them. So it's very difficult for them. They spend so much.
What's quite baffling for many football analysts is the fact that the GFA, that is supposed to be responsible for general organization of football in our country, seems to be given very, very good reasons why the league is not starting. But for the ordinary avid lover of football, it just doesn't sound right, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. It will never sound right when, you know, week in, week out, you sit behind your TV set and you're watching the English Premier League, you're watching the Spanish La Liga, and even the one closer to you, the one that you can get to the stadium, you're not getting to see. You know, I'll tell you what, just some few weeks ago, Accra Heartful played a friendly with the Interlights at the Accra Stadium. I was there myself. It was on a Sunday. And after the game, I interacted with some of the fans, and you could see that these guys are really yearning for local football. You know, for a very long time, they've not been, you know, seeing that. So when they got the opportunity to watch Heart to Folk Interlights, they were so happy. And just last 2 weeks or so, the Super Cup, Mediama Ashanti Gold, it was a free gate. That day, we had one big game in Europe. I think it was Manchester United, Chelsea. So the worry was that fans were not going to turn up. Well, indeed, when they started the game, it looked like people were not going to come. But at some point, people came, and those that came were so happy that, well, I mean, now at least they are getting something week in, week out. Well, and if you're a lover of football in this country, when on a normal Sunday, on a normal weekend, you don't have anything to do, I'm sure you would love to go to the Accra Stadium, or you'd love to visit any Premier League center. But if there is no league, what do? You just stay in your house and you find something else to do. So as long as the FA are trying to, you know, put things together, also always give us reasons why the league is not starting, everybody is worried.
We keep hearing about injunctions, whether they are interlocutory or whatever it is that we call them, being placed on the league all the time prior to its start. It doesn't happen in other jurisdictions. I've never had a Premier League that...
Not at all.
Quite
not
upset
at all.
in my mind.
You know why we normally hear things like that here? Because my problem with the FA has always been the case where they don't deal with the issues that exist. Okay, so if two clubs are fighting, or if they have some legal issues, what do? You have to deal with the issues and get to the root of the matter so that everybody will be at peace before you start. But this is a case where the FA comes out to release fixtures, set a date that we are starting on February 20, when we know very well that there are issues to be dealt with. So Roland, if, let's say you are War Africa United, or you are Techiman City. Well, Techiman City at some point they were demoted. Now they are filing for stay of execution, and by the amendment of the regulations, well, it allows them to, you know, play in the Premier League until whatever will happen, they will know what the FA will come out to say. So that person will never be okay. Tema Youth took their case to CAS. Initially, they were seeking for an injunction, and that case was thrown away. So the substantive case which they have with the FA is yet to be heard. So if you are Tema Youth and you've gone to CAS, and first that issue has been thrown out, I'm sure you will still find ways of, you know, ensuring that you will not start the Premier League. And that's what exactly we are seeing. Well, yesterday, what happened was that this unknown football fan, Babi Al-Hassan, first we were told that he's from Royal Atletico. Royal Atletico in the evening came out to deny knowing him, that he's got no affiliation with them. Now, people are also saying that, well, Tema Youth are behind this because they went to CAS and that their case there were thrown out. Now, they are looking for any means to try so that the Premier League will not start. And that's why they've asked this gentleman to, you know, secure for the injunction. But one thing I can also tell you is that, well, he has got the injunction, but he's not served the FA. Even if he has served the FA, he's not served the right people. By the FA regulation, he must either serve the FA president or the general secretary. And those two guys have not received anything. So as far as they are concerned, the Premier League is starting this weekend.
It's more like we're just trying to use dagger to draw swords. But at the end of the day, is the fact that there are best practices around the world. There are grievances that clubs and administrators tend to have with organizing, managers of various Premier Leagues around the world as well. What are the best practices they undertake that we can learn from?
Well, I think our FA has actually let the country down many occasions, and the point is we don't seem to learn. And it's funny how we don't learn from history. In fact, the only thing we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. over time again, we invite people from PSL, people from the English League to come and educate us on how to go about things. The bottom line is, practically, the bottom line of whatever they tell our FA is copy to suit your style. Whatever we do in South Africa, or whatever we do to make the PSL very professional, if you apply it to it might not work because it's two different jurisdictions. So it's a matter of the FA sacrificing time and actually, because you get the idea that all the resources are concentrated at the Black Star level, and it's high time they actually gave hearing to the league, and then they actually sort way out. If they decide to channel all their efforts, and candidly, they would be able to make headways. Because in other jurisdictions, like the Premiership, it's very rare for a team to be deducted 3 points for whatever reason. But teams can be deducted points when they go into administration where they do not meet some criteria and then eventually they are relegated. But here, teams protest over JCs, teams protest over some petty things. So it's about the FA trying to know what the right ways are and actually challenge their resources to work things out. Because in Nigeria, they've actually made their league a company. I think for the past 2 or 3 seasons, they've actually made their league a company, and they have a CEO for that company, and he's a neutral. He doesn't belong to any of the teams. And at the end of the season, in fact, when the Nigerian league started as a company, they didn't have any sponsorship. But now the clubs are now enticing, and they've actually had a clout around themselves that other corporate bodies are beginning to invest. So it's a matter of the FA trying to get time and say, no, this time we really want to make the league, rather than trying to always cut issues from the effect level. They should rather go to the cost level and uproot it entirely.
I want
to say something. Just to talk about
buttress this point.
No, not to buttress, but something that he said that I have to correct. Yeah, the issue about deduction of points here. The clubs, they agreed. They went to Congress. Those days used to be paying of fines, just as they do in the English Premier League, because you've never heard that they've deducted Chelsea points every time. It's just about you pay something for misconduct. Yeah, that's what we're practicing here. And these same clubs went to Congress and said, well, that money is too much for us, because we manage to pay our players and officials at times becomes very difficult. So why not we scrap this and adopt the points deduction? So they are all sat and agreed. And one thing we should also know is that the clubs, they are all part of the FA. Mm-hmm. If you go to the executive committee, even the president, he's got a club. Wow Stars. Jeffrey has a club. All the big boys there, they are all part. So the problem is from them themselves.
Okay, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. In England, whoever manages the Premier League doesn't run a club.
But here,
doesn't run a club. Mm-hmm. So, and the rest of the people at the FA don't run clubs. And as a result of that, they are more of neutrals and seek the interests and the welfare of the various clubs.
All right.
As human as we are, are there no point where there could be some conflict of interest situations, or there are arising scenarios in which, well, there could be some level of animosity with rival administrators in the clubs which don't have representatives at the Football Association?
Fair point. But the FA doesn't run the league.
I do understand that.
The league is run by the Premier League
in Ghana,
board.
everything that is done, because the Premier League board really doesn't seem to be the one that is having control over a lot of things.
Now, you know what they've done now? They have Ashford Tetoku. He's not affiliated to any club.
Well, we do understand that, but there's going to be an injunction on the league. But a league that is expected to start this very weekend, Benedict.
Exactly, and I'm saying that they have somebody who runs the league. Now, he is the chairman of the PLB. He has no affiliation with any club. And what's happening is that now what they've done is they've reconstituted the Premier League board. So all the 16 clubs, they have representative. Unlike those days that it was just some few, like let's say we appoint 4 people onto the board. Now it's all the 16 Premier League clubs with Ashford Tetoku, who is not affiliated to any club. But I get your point where, if an executive committee member has got a club and there are issues, just like the Palmer issue, well, probably maybe the person would want to use his influence so that things will go in his favor. Because a typical case is a Tema Youth. Now Palmer, Dreams FC, they've also got Ketukruku on the executive committee. So in issues like this, if it goes up there, and probably that person might use his influence, to do things. It has always been the case. And to belong to the Football Association here in Ghana, you must be affiliated to a club. Either you are the manager, or per their statute, you must be a player, you must be an official, or you must belong to a club.
Is that not where the conflict of interest situations come? And because in England,
you can't do away with that.
Chelsea doesn't have a representative.
They do.
No, in terms of running the club or running the league. No, listen to me.
Yeah.
As a result of that, when Jose Mourinho was coach and had all these fines before he was sacked, there's nobody from Chelsea who could have influenced anything.
No. That will never happen.
What happens here?
Exactly.
You could see that there are underhand dealings in some of the things that they do. Don't be laughing. It's a serious issue. And you're a sports journalist. Now, for all the things that tend to happen, if we say we want to learn from the best practices out there, which ones would have been the ideal to learn from?
Well, we can look at those that we've always been inviting here. He spoke about
the PSL.
The PSL,
South
we invited
Africa.
them, and also we've invited the FA, the English FA here. That was 2 seasons ago. Dai came here, interacted with the clubs as well. And my problem is that why do we keep bringing these guys here when we're not going to learn anything? Because when we stick to what we are used to doing every time, and we keep bringing them. Just some few weeks ago, we brought some guys from South Africa, Thomas Konete and the other guys. Solid interaction. But at the end of the day, the things that they keep telling the clubs, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, they go back and they start doing the same things that they were doing. One thing about, the media interaction, they told clubs how to interact with the media so that things will go well. Well, let me tell you, at times when you go for matches, okay, and you even want to interview a player or a coach, by virtue of the person losing the game, he would tell you that, Masa, I've lost the game, you want to talk to me. So you always want those that, okay, if I win, then I'll speak. If I don't win, I won't speak. All these things were highlighted there. But these same clubs will go back and do the same thing. You pick your phone, you call an administrator, a general manager of a club, that, I've heard this issue. How is it true or is it not true? The person will tell you that, Master, I'm not interested. I don't want to talk to you. You understand?
But has the FA made it compelling, or the Premier League made it compelling, for example, that in England, each coach, after the first team coach, not even the assistant, would have to
pre-match conference and a post-match
brief the media
conference
prior and after the match. Okay, when you flout it, or you even send your assistant, you're fined.
Yeah, the problem is that they've instituted that, and even 3 seasons ago they did, but the clubs are not compliant, and the FA they've not set up a proper system to check all these things, and that
it's not sounding interesting at all. How does it become possible that there are rules and there are
and that's what I'm saying,
and the clubs who have administrators, who have representatives at the FA, etc., will just not obey? And where the perhaps the sanctions that are supposed to be deterrent enough for them not to obey?
It just goes to highlight the fact that the PLB itself is different, and the FA itself, it's not functioning in terms of the Ghana Premier League. So the point is, they are not doing things right there. Because if you want to do what's ideal is what's done everywhere. Even Nigeria is copying, South Africa is copying. Sudan have made their league so enticing that corporate bodies are investing into clubs. Because Sudan doesn't have one of the best economies in Africa, but they do have one of the best league in Africa. Not because they are rich, it's because they've made a league in such a way that when you are a corporate body and you come to sponsor, there are some subsidiaries that you do get, and you get some tax holidays and everything. And there are things that do help the league. And here, we are not doing any of them. We just bring them in, they come to speak to the issue, and when the experts do come and leave, just like Benedict said, we do not apply it. So it's a matter of the clubs themselves also trying to stand up for their rights, because like you were saying, if you go to England and other jurisdictions, the people that do run the Premier Leagues, they are neutral, and as a result, even when they take crucial decisions, because in England, when there's an issue, it takes less than 72 hours for the verdict to come out. In Ghana, it can take over 2 months, 3 months.
So now you're saying that we could have clubs, just like in England, they are representatives, but then those who run the...
should be neutral.
Okay. How can we have the Premier League run as a corporate entity, as we have it in England, in South Africa?
Even in Nigeria now.
And even, I think, in northern parts of Africa.
The simple
because
answer
they are very functional leagues.
I'm not a football man, I'm not a football person, as they say. What they can only do is when they go to Congress and they adopt it, fine, we all go with it and we'll talk about it. But if they're not going to do that, then what do? We only have to sit back and just be analyzing and talking about the issues and, tell them the things that we feel they must do.
So for all the things that we're talking about, the stalemate in the league, and for months on end, not starting the Premier League, what are the consequences or the repercussions?
Just like what happened this Sunday, players will get injured because they would be idle. They won't know what to do. They'll go about having fun with their friends and they'll get injured. And clubs will incur so much cost. Because they would have to camp them. They would have to, because clubs really make money from gate proceeds. And they are not playing any big games. And so that's a huge opportunity cost. Apart from players going injured, opportunity cost from gate proceeds and other factors. You see, when we start the league and the Junos, some of us, we start hyping some of the players, it makes scouts want to go and watch some games. And it makes spectators want to go and watch some games. Now, if scouts do come and watch your game and they spot a player like Bernard Morrison, they would want to recommend to their club and say, Bernard is good. If Bernard is leaving, you are getting close to $500,000, $700,000, and that's huge. Opportunity cost.
I'm even lost. Bernard Morrison, which team does he play?
He plays for AS Vita. He's in DR Congo now. He was with Ashgo last season, very instrumental.
I think I heard about it.
Good.
Yeah.
So now the point is, if the league is not going, a huge opportunity cost is the scouts are not going to scout any player. And as a result, the clubs are not going to make any money from transfer of players. And so many repercussions. But I think it's an issue.
And it also goes against our
clubs. So if
the
Premier League is the topmost league we have, it's crumpled or stagnant.
Oh, the others.
What's the effect on the other ones below?
It's the same. Because if you're not playing the Premier League, you can't play the Division 1.
Exactly.
Whatever happens in the Premier League...
So you're saying that's a scenario now?
Yeah.
So while the Premier League, there's been an injunction,
the
Championship,
there's no injunction
the first division and the other ones that we are second division and the other lower tier leagues also not being played.
No, you have
Why?
We move together because you can only play the Premier League when the Division 1...
But I'm sure in England, if there's an injunction on the Premier League, the Championship will move on.
But that's the system we've adopted here, and that's how they are working. And it's not right, but that's what's going on. So since we are not playing the league, because clubs from the Division 1 have issues, now we're even talking about who was going to replace the Man City. And Arsenal, RTU, all these clubs we're talking about, okay, I won, I drew this point, and in this case, if Tichuman City are being demoted, I'm supposed to come in, you see. So all these issues must be dealt with before we can start. So if the Premier League is starting, then we know that Division 1 2 is also going on. But if the Premier League is not on, the Division 1 can also not.
The FA is not doing a good job at developing talent, is it?
Absolutely.
In developing talent, they are doing a good job because in terms of recently what they've done with the under-17 and under-20, they asked the coach of the team, that's Parkus Ifebin, to go around the country and search for talent. Now they've got 35 players which they've camped in Pram. So in terms of that, they are doing well. But if you're talking about the league, then I will agree with you because a typical example about the repercussions and the effect, Ashanti Gold, Midiama, these guys are in Africa. We watched the Ashanti Gold game last week against Emo Bejaya. It was terrible. Because,
you mean shambolic?
Yeah, and you know what happened was that Emo Bejaya, they've been playing week in, week out. Match fitness upped. Ashanti Gold, G6 tournament, and the last game they played was the Super Cup. How do you play such a team that have been playing week in, week out, and expect to win? It will never happen. They won, they struggled. Everybody watched the game because the match fitness is not there. So if you are playing week in, week out, if the league is in session and your club is playing in Africa, it gives that club an advantage as well. But if you're not playing and somebody is coming and the person is training, doing very well.
When something happens in any scenario, you're not going to feel the effect there and then. And we know that as with any human development effort, it takes some time. And so you likely see the result after a period. It means that down the lane, we're going to have poor talent by perhaps close of next year or close of next 2 years.
In fact, it's one main reason why we struggle to actually get local players into the Black Stars. It's about consistency. They don't get to play.
And football is about consistency.
Exactly.
Because the more you train, the more you develop your skill.
Exactly. It's about consistency. A player, because Bashir Ford, the Ash Gold coach, the team representing Ghana in the Champions League, he made a categorical statement and said that when they had to, they lost their captain, Lawrence Lati, to a South African team and others, and Bernard Morrison to a DR Congo team. He said he pleaded with the guys. He told them that he begs they should stay. So that then they told him that, 1, the league is not going to start, 2, money, and 3, if they don't move out, they don't get to play Black Stars. And those points are crucial. And it's not as though these things aren't things that the FA are not, the FA isn't in the know. The FA knows it very well. And it's killing our clubs. That is why the days when Atani Delali Emmanuel and Chastela could play for the Black Stars against a team like DR Congo, led by Lua and Shaban Inonda from Europe, and could still manage to get a draw, go away. Those days are over. We can't parade the local side against any international team. They will beat us to a pulp. So it's about things are not going well, and it's high time the FA sat down to
Who are you close to at the FA?
I know almost everybody at the FA. Yeah.
Okay, so you know the president. How does he feel about this?
Well, he's just a...
He's nonchalant about it. A busy bee.
No. Oh.
Impassive.
No, he is.
Because if he was concerned about it, the state of football shouldn't be the way it is.
No, he is. He's the leader of the FA, and obviously, if things are not going well, he should be worried and disturbed. And he's trying to find ways. Well, I don't speak for the FA, but I'm just telling you.
Well, it looks like you're speaking for the FA. The excuses that you tend to be giving here.
Which excuses? I'm telling you. You asked the question, and I'm just telling you what he's been telling me, that he is very, very much concerned about all these issues. But he doesn't have the power to do certain things. You know, he's the president, but some things must be done through the proper channel. He cannot just go and, you know, take decisions by himself. If it goes to the executive committee level and they would have to take it to the emergency committee, well, it goes there, which is also part of it. So if things are not going well, the FA president can also suggest and tell them that, well, let's do it this way, let's do it that way, which I know very well that he's been doing. It's just that things are not working, but they are trying to find solutions to it. See what happened. Now, no sponsorship, but we have to start the league. Clubs crying, no money, no money. But they found ways, you know, to help these clubs to play the Premier League, and they've promised that by close of the first season, the first round, they will get a sponsor for the Premier League. It's not right for us to play a league without a sponsor. The FA knows very well, and this is something they've always been saying. And let me tell you something, even George Freer, the vice president, recently told us that, well, he believes that the wrangling between clubs, the judicial issues has really caused them. Because he said...
He said that?
Yeah, he said just 2 weeks ago, they were in contact with this huge company for a mega sponsorship deal. But because of the ethics committee ruling that came out, the guys were like, are you guys serious that you're going to start your Premier League with all these issues that are happening? So what would you do? If you're a businessman, would you want to put your money into something like that? Something that you don't even know if it's going to start today or it's going to start tomorrow. So he admitted that it's really, really affecting them. And since they are all part of the PLB and also they are the FA, they are trying so hard to find answers and solutions to these problems. So the league will start this coming Sunday.
With poor patronage.
Exactly. People are in a fix whether the league is starting or not. Myself, those of us who want to highlight...
He's the only optimistic guy.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
you have to be optimistic.
Of course, you are very
worried.
He has
grapevines.
No, it's not that. But, you know, per the information that I have, I know the league will start.
We are very worried.
But then we're going to play a league again with perhaps even lower patronage than we used to watch.
And that is very sad.
Because there's nothing that has been done about the league. There's not been any activation. And
the highlight of everything, and the highlight of the fact that fans are not happy about what's going on, was what happened last season when Hasselhoff played Kotoko at the Accra. The stadium was in full. Yeah. And it was the first time in so many years. In fact, ever since I started watching the league, this is the first time a Kotoko Hearts game didn't end up feeling close to 70 or 80% of the stands. The fans are not happy. People in the helm of affairs should do things right for people to be happier. But otherwise, everyone will start talking about the European leagues, and eventually we'll all forget about the local.
For example, I love Chelsea.
Because the package is
but I also love Kotoko. Yeah. But if Kotoko is playing and Chelsea is playing same time, I'll go and watch Chelsea.
Why?
Packaging.
Somebody has to tell me why Kotoko is more attractive to me on that very day Chelsea is playing. The quality of football is different.
It's dwindling.
Which we'll all accept.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if we want to improve the quality of play, how do we do that? with all the bottlenecks we're having, the league stagnant, players not training consistently, and so not developing in a way that the clubs can even scout enough and buy the better players that they want.
Well, the major problem is that we need money. If we get money and we are keeping our players here and we get good pitches, we'll have one of the best.
There's a lot of money in the country. Why is it that nobody's pumping that into football?
But, and I'm saying that because of all these issues, which they all admit, if we're able to deal with all these issues and going forward, if every season the league is being run smoothly without clubs agitating, people taking matters of football to court, and we get money, sponsorship, pay players well, and we get good pitches, I'm not sure the players will leave. A player who plays here in Ghana will leave for Serbia and go and take $500 because the club
$500 how many? 2,000 Ghana cedis approximately a month.
Because the club here, some of the clubs are paying the players by my checks 100 cedis, 200 cedis.
You can't be serious.
I'm serious.
Oh, yeah.
200 cedis, 500 cedis.
In Ghana?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Lower division?
Oh, Premier League
Premier
clubs.
League, top flight.
So if Serbia, Guantanamo, mention Moldova, anywhere, if a player can leave Ghana, so if you're able to keep all these players and consistently if they play for 4 years, 5 years, and they rise, don't you think that the days of Chastela, Ishmaelado, when people were going to the stadium because of these players, it will emerge again? So you have a reason for going to the stadium. Now players are coming up. There is Samudin Ibrahim for Accra Hearts-of-Oak. Asante Kotoko also have some good players as well. So if these players, they play very well here for the next 3 seasons, I'm sure people will start, and we start talking about them. Everybody would want to go to the stadium. Let me give you an example. For the past 4 seasons, all the players that have emerged as the most valuable players in every season, they don't stay here. Why? Because there is no money, and the pressure comes from the family. It comes from friends. Now they see you on TV taking an award, most valuable player of the season, and they come to you, they ask you that, oh bro, can you get me 50 cedis? And you tell them that I don't have money. Who will believe you? So if a contract comes, Sudan, DR Congo, and you are going to get $5,000, the person will leave and go.
Or even the Middle East. That's even more bumper.
Oh, at least that place is better. So that has been the problem. If you're able to keep the players and we build on them in terms of the name and we promote them very well, I'm sure people will start going to the stadium.
Very interesting points that he makes there. But at the end of the day, nobody just have to take a certain scene. The stadium disaster that happened way back in 2001, the stadium was full to the brim, to the capacity, extra, and for which we had a disaster to that magnitude. We can't find the same strength of patronage, can we?
No, we can't.
Not even half.
No,
It will
not
be very
even
difficult
half.
because you know you
For a
look at
local
even
game.
You look at even that game. The players that we paraded, 2000 we had used same
2000,
players.
okay.
No, I mean 2000 we had used same players
To represent
play.
the Black Stars.
Yeah, represent the Black Stars. So who would not want to go to the stadium and watch? You know, Kumasi Asante Kotoko Hearts-of-Oak when you even used 11 players of Hearts-of-Oak to play Nigeria who were informed that time, and you drew with them. You even had the opportunity to beat them. So everybody would want to go to the stadium. And at that point, Kotoko had some great players. Lawrence Ajatete, Ablodi, all these guys were on form and they were playing well. So definitely people, and even at that point, Hearts were doing well in Africa. CAF Champions League, they had won it. They had won the Super Cup, and in 2001 they were on form. Asante Kotoko also were doing very well in the Confederation Cup. Remember very well they played against WAC of Morocco in the finals, and you know all these factors. But now here's the case that your clubs are not doing well in Africa, and even now our slots have been taken from we had 4 slots, 2 for Confederation and 2 for Champions League. Now because of our performance in Africa, they've taken 2 away from us, so now we only have 2, 1 for CAF Champions League and 1 for Confederation Cup. So you see, it's a problem.
I totally agree with Benedict on the point that it all boils down to money. But then again, which corporate entity would want to invest in a different society or a different association? An association that they're not even able to give a proper audit account of themselves. If you go to Botswana, the Botswana League, it's not even popular in Southern Africa or Eastern Africa, but then they have so many sponsorships. In Kenya, Gor Mahia, Botswana League.
You got to be kidding me.
Yes, absolutely. Gor Mahia, a top team in Kenya. their sponsorship was their sponsorship was close to 1/3 of the entire Ghana Premier League sponsorship.
You mean
Kenya?
millions?
Yes, Kenya, and they do not even they don't do so well in Africa. They first run and they're out. It's about packaging. It's about how you package yourself. It's about how your bigger body will put you for the corporate entities to want to invest in you. So if the GFA and the PLB don't do things right, they don't expect corporate entities to come in and help.
Well, very interesting there. But let's look at this very scenario. The Premier League, that's the Football Association Premier League Limited, is operated as a corporation. It's owned by the 20 member clubs. Each club is a shareholder with 1 vote each on issues such as rule changes and contracts. The clubs elect a chairman, a chief executive, and board of directors to oversee the daily operations of the league. And we know the current chairman is this Dave Richards? He was appointed way back in 1990.
But you know, this system, and that's what the FA are trying to do now.
They are trying.
Yeah, and they've even done it, because now
they've done it.
Yeah, all the clubs.
And now we are going to have an injunction placed on the league that's supposed to start this week.
I'm telling you that this happened last season. Okay, this got to do with the legal issues that they were not able to deal with. And I've always been saying, and that I always blame the FA, that they should have dealt with all these issues, make sure that we are all okay. The clubs, I'm talking about the clubs, Tema Youth, Dreams FC issue sorted out, Techiman City, Africa United issue sorted out before we start the league. You know, but if you don't do this, then obviously you get people coming back telling you that, well, because of this you didn't do, then we also won't allow the league to go on. And
well, we'll see how that goes. But so once they haven't received the injunction, it means that the league will go on?
No, of course, the league will go on.
Is that the best way to go about it? Wouldn't it be fraught with problems later on?
Yeah, I'm of the view that all the matters, all the boardroom matters should be resolved before the league kicks off, so that we don't get to the middle and we are told Techiman City have to go on relegation, and then we are told Kim Faisal has to come in and everything. I believe that all the boardroom wranglings must be resolved and brought to a halt, a complete halt, so that we can start on a fresh page. Even if it will mean that for an entire season we would have to sacrifice a full Premier League calendar and try to work things out. That is the best way to go. It's rather than we get to the middle, we pause, there's an injunction, we go to resolve it partially, then we come back. It's just like we're kidding ourselves.
You sided with him too?
There are always dynamics. I mean, we can start the league.
Your friends in the FA, is that the same way they are?
We can start the league, things will happen, they know how to do things. It's in their regulations and in their statutes. So, I mean, they are so much known in the football running, and whatever happens, they will come out and tell us. But I mean, the point about sorting out the issues before we start the league, that's what I've always been saying. It's the best way to do things.
We'll see how that goes. We have had in the studio Benedict Owusu Dankwa. Thanks for joining me, sir.
Pleasure.
And also Nana Owusu Ansa, a freelance sports journalist and an avid follower of the Premier League, constantly critiquing, not necessarily criticizing, critiquing the league. And so, thanks for joining me, Nana.
It's a pleasure.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll be doing AM Talk. And as always, if you want to get interactive, we have Facebook. We have a page there, Join Us on TV. And then we also have the number of WhatsApp, 0568 100,000, through which you can always be talking to us. If I say talking, I don't mean you should send us a voice note, but just give us a lot more messages, and we'll tend to relay the messages for you in the course of the rest of the minutes we have before we come to a close for the morning edition of the AM show. Right now we're taking a break. When we come back, AM Talk is up next.